Hi, everybody. Now we can be seen and heard by the probably dozen or so people who are going to watch this live. Welcome everybody to our hangout once again. And yeah, we were we were talking earlier before we went on the air about that brief little like moment of excitement. That sort of for in my time zone, it was mostly overnight, where I woke up that morning and found that everyone had been wildly speculating and hoping and praying and crossing their fingers and sacrificing to their gods in the hope that Trump had somehow passed away because he had not been seen in public for a few days. And then later that morning, it was like, no, he went out to the golf course, and everybody was like, oh!
He should have been like the Australian Prime Minister, go out swimming and don't come back. And Australia named a swimming pool after that Prime Minister as well too. But hey, I got some good news. It's amazing. It's an amazing achievement that this person has done this, because it has been exactly, based on my math, 38 days since Hulk Hogan said the N-word.
Good for Hulk Hogan. Good for him. That I am so proud of him that he has made it. And honestly, I wasn't sure he could do it.
And 4 years of sobriety for Rush Limbaugh, amazing. That
good for 4
years. Yes, and
good
also,
for him.
Just places relative to those people are gender neutral bathrooms. Let's all remember that.
Exactly. And Geek, you actually mentioned James Dobson, who also died finally recently. And so it's only been a couple of weeks, but I mean, however long it's been, that's probably the longest stretch of his existence that he's gone without saying or doing something incredibly homophobic. So, he's probably doing pretty good too.
Yeah, in case anyone doesn't know, James Dobson is the founder of Focus on the Family, which is I think this group knows, whenever there's an organization with that kind of a name, and it is a political organization, that and he was personally extremely homophobic, and he run conversion in centers as well too. Conversion therapy centers. Thank you. I was mentioning that word.
Yeah, and even beyond that, people outside the United States, or even people who were sort of outside the kind of the kind of conservative Christianity that he was influential in. I mean, he loomed so large in that world. There are entire generations of people whose whole attitudes toward raising children and how they treat their spouses and how they were influenced by what this small-minded, ignorant little bigot thought. And I'm to quote Jack Nicholson's Joker, or to paraphrase Jack Nicholson's Joker, I'm glad he's dead.
Yes, exactly.
Another person that I dread just every day, RFK Jr. Oh, great. So now we're just not allowed to protect ourselves from COVID. He's like, no, you will get sick, and you will eat your vegetables and like it, damn it.
You will get sick and die.
Dangerous member of this administration.
I agree.
I think so too.
I think the worst thing I ever heard about James Dobson, and I heard it some years ago, a friend of mine, she married into the States, and she didn't realize her husband was a great aficionado of his. And eventually she ran away from him, because Dobson was very much against domestic violence. If your male spouse hit you, he felt you should go back. She basically she fled with her son to her parents in this country, in the UK, and he did try and pursue her, but she basically told him, because she was quite willing to go for a no-fault divorce. We split our our ideologies, so that's not the right word. Our ideologies don't align anymore. So let's divorce and just forget it. And he wouldn't have it. He said, oh no, you're my wife. And it wasn't until her parents got involved and said, if you don't leave her alone, we'll prosecute, because we've seen the bruises. We've taken her to the doctor. You fractured her shoulder blade. What the hell do you think you're playing at? That he backed off and actually said, okay, you're divorced, but it's your fault. And he kind of And she basically said,
I
I
mean,
don't care. You know, I really don't care that it's my fault. As long as you just go away.
just get out of
I
here.
mean, yeah. I mean, she married about 5 years after she divorced him, but she said the divorce took 2 years. And that was back and forth, and him going, "Oh no, you must come back to me because I believe in this God that says you must come back to me." He said, and I did ask her, I said, "What was the tone?" She said, "When he wanted me to lick his boots."
What?
Okay.
And I said,
Does he know that's
I
supposed to be a metaphor? Is he that dumb? He's like, I.
and I looked and I said, and I was on the Zoom call. I said, "You what?" And he said, "Oh no, he wanted me to kneel on the floor and lick his boots at the end of his night shift." And this is a guy who just stomped through about 2 miles of mud after walking the dog. And I said, "Well, what happened to us?" He said, "Oh, he kept the dog. He was fine to the dog. It was me he had problems with."
Yeah,
James, I swear, heterosexuality is the weird kink.
Yeah,
I mean, people who have children need to raise their children, regardless of the gender of the child. They need to
recognize
raise
the child as their own person. It's
yes,
that's another person, not their property.
Yes,
that's the key thing.
They need to raise their children as people, but also they need
wildly controversial takes.
Yeah, I know.
People should raise their children.
Bunch of woke wackos in this chat. But like, no, people need to raise their children, regardless of gender, to be the kind of people where if another person expects you to debase yourself for them in any way, just turn your back and walk away from them. That is not a person you need to be spending your time with. That is not a person who is worth being friends with, being in a relationship with, whatever. If anybody is like, you need to subjugate yourself to me, you know, and do something humiliating like that you're not into, I'll put that caveat in, because some people are into it and it's a mutual thing and that's fine. But if you're not if you're expected to humiliate yourself or debase yourself for another person, you just turn around and walk the fuck away. That's not worth it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. You should.
Unfortunately, I've met a couple of people in various poetry groups, and one of them, and I think she gets away with it because she's disabled. And I feel like saying, "I'm disabled. I wouldn't expect you guys to accept me insulting anybody else. So why is she allowed to insult me?" But if I call her out, and I've tried, I've said, Jean, I really don't appreciate you badgering me about when I'm going to move and how I'm going to move and who I'm going to contact. She's reacted all kinds of, "Oh, I'm only trying to help. You should really make more effort. You should do all this. You should do that." And I kind of, you grit your teeth so hard you can taste blood. And I'm going, "You know something, Jean? I'm doing the best I can with with the resources I've got. And we've only got, limited social democracy in the UK. We've got some, but people still fall through the cracks. And because of my husband's job, we don't get as much help as you'd like to think we do. You are in a residential care home for severely disabled people. She's got cystic fibrosis and she can't really use anything below her neck. So she's got people there 24/7.
Yeah.
I've got my husband and nobody else.
Yep.
So, and if you wanted anybody,
also, like, who asked her? Like, the unsolicited advice. Like, thanks for your concern. You don't need to worry about it. Nobody asked you. You know? Like,
and although we're moving now, we're moving because of the effort we made, not of anything she did. And now she's kind of, "Oh, I'm so glad I helped you." And you're sitting there going, "You know something? Can't you just fuck off for just once in your fucking life? Just go away." So now I grit my teeth and go, "Well, yes, everything's fine, and I'll let you know how things are going." Thinking, go away, go away, go away.
Go away.
Try to end the conversation as quickly as possible. I want to get to Isaiah. His hand is up. I'm gonna try not to let the hands up stack up too much this time. We'll see how that goes. But Isaiah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so I'm going to say this, and then I was going to say later, can I share my con experience? But
sure.
Before I get there, I just wanted to just say that, have you guys ever noticed that all of these things like focus on the family and all these other things came right after the civil rights movement, the backlash of the civil rights movement?
What a coincidence. What a coincidence.
There's a great book by Kevin Cruz, the historian, who if you're on, he's very active on Blue Sky, so you might
Yeah.
have seen him there. But he's got a great book called, I think, One Nation Under God, that is a
Yes.
history of the Christian right, and is, I mean, essentially is about how a kind of a move to consolidate political power by reactivating the sort of the evangelicals as a political force, created the, and you know, changed doctrine. I mean, like this kind of virulent opposition to abortion was not really like a part of mainstream Christian doctrine until, you know, relatively recently. There was, you know, kind of a more of a range of views until then. So One Nation Under God, good book. I'm actually reading right now.
Yeah.
But that's they switched over to like talk about abortion as well to consolidate that, and that was all a reaction to civil rights, of course, as well too. But like anyway, Isaiah, share us your con experience as well too.
Can I do it later?
You okay, sure, later, sure.
Yeah. Later, and let's go to Joe next.
Joe.
Okay.
Joe.
So, okay. There we go. The earlier bit reminded me of a truism with people who insist. People who insist they are tough are pretty much universally not. People who insist they are smart have like the greatest ignorant, oversights, and people who insist they be respected are the least worthy of it.
Actually, Robert Evans, when he did his 6-parter on like a G. Gordon Liddy as well too, and he's the guy who was like, I'll show you how tough I am. I'm gonna hold this match until it burns my hand. I'll sit in this campfire or something like that. But he compared that to like I think his uncle or father or grandfather who served in like Vietnam, and he won a Purple Heart because he like his buddies was like pinned down by the machine gun fire, and he drove the Jeep there, and then like started like shoving basically like almost like sandbags, taking one of his buddies and stacking them onto the back of the truck, all while receiving gunfire or something like that, and drove back. He got hit himself as well too, and then people going up to him like, man, you must be tough as nails, you like ice water in your veins. The dude, I was like, guys, I was scared shitless throughout the whole thing because
I was just doing it.
Just doing it, and that's really what that is. That's a good example of that.
Well, I mean, there are these qualities that, like, there are certain qualities that if someone has them, they speak for themselves, and if you feel it necessary to point it out to other people, that probably means you don't actually got it. You know, because if you were really a tough guy, or, you know, really a smart guy, or really a kind, empathetic, like people can see that.
I'm a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
A good one too. Yeah.
Many years ago, I was in Birmingham. And there's a great museum there. They've got part of what's known as the Staffordshire Hoard. You've probably heard of it. This great gold hoard that was found around Staffordshire, and the Birmingham Museum displays some of it. And there was a chap there, and I didn't actually twig. And I was chatting to this group of fairly old men, and one of them said, "Yeah, we're just waiting for he did say, "Guys, we're just waiting for a lady to take us to this museum. There's a museum down in Birmingham that's quite near the jury quarter." I said, "Oh right, and why?" I said, "Well, we're doing a talk about the D-Day landings," and it finally twigged, and I went, "Oh boy." I said, "Oh, which beach were you on?" And he went, "Oh, Sword." And I went, and you know how you suddenly get that cold feeling of, oh shit.
Yeah.
I've just not realized. And then I just kind of said, "Oh, well," and I just shook his hand and said, "Well, it's a honor and a pleasure to meet you." So he just shrugged and said, "Look, I was just lucky. I was just very, very lucky."
Yeah.
And he said, "I saw half my squad die. So yeah, I was just very lucky." But
and like a lot of those people, you know, the thing that most movies get wrong, usually just out of necessity, is how young everybody is in a war. Like, I mean, in almost any war, the actual troops who are, you know, in combat are almost always incredibly young, 18, 19. And so if you are a veteran of a war and you experience something, you know, truly horrific, or you do something incredibly, like, unimaginably heroic, and then you live beyond that, and you live a normal lifespan, and you're looking back 50 or 60 years later, you're looking at something that happened when you were barely even there, when you were
Yeah.
just a kid. And, you know, you might not, I mean, one of the reasons why I think some people who have been in those situations don't really talk about it. I mean, other than, you know, maybe there's trauma involved,
Yeah.
but it's because like, what is there to say? I was 18 and my friends were in trouble and I did what I could to help them, and I was
Yeah.
mostly running on instinct, and, you
Yeah.
know, like, what else
It's
is there to say?
it's the thing they get wrong about that Audie Murphy film about his life. What they don't show you is when he takes that tank, they show it in the middle of summer. In actual fact, it was the middle of winter. Half
Mm.
his squad was suffering from frostbite. He almost lost 2 of his toes, and he had to, and everything's frozen. We kind of, if you've ever seen The Day After Tomorrow, that's
Yeah.
that level of frost, where frost covers everything. It's so cold you can't touch anything, and when you do, you can feel the frost even through your clothes. Anyway,
Yeah.
useless piece of information. It was my wedding anniversary yesterday. Look what happened.
Congratulations.
Happy anniversary.
Nice.
You made it.
I made it 21 years. And if I've been in prison, I'd have been out by now.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite jokes. That it's an old joke, but like Bobby Heenan, the wrestling manager, told it on a WWF show in the '80s. He was talking. They had a live audience, like a studio show, and he was talking. He just was sort of talking to people in the audience, and there was you know, an older couple there who were married, and he says, how long have you been married? And the old man says something like, you know, 30 years. And that's what Bobby Heenan said. He said, do you ever think that if you had killed her instead, you'd be out by now? And
if he killed her and expressed remorse, yeah. If I'd suffocated him in his sleep and expressed remorse for the act, I'd be out by now.
Yeah, I'd be out. I'd be free. I'd be free.
Yeah. I could have been put, and being disabled, I'd have been put in a minimum prison and with special care.
I could have done the time. I could have done the time. Yeah. All right, Nick, your hand's up. Go for it, buddy.
Okay. So, like, this is just like a comics, I swear. But I've been getting reacquainted with a show from my childhood, and I never quite understood back then just how dark it was. But I swear, like in the 2000s, you had stuff like, you know, Zim and Billy and Mandy, just these really dark, mean, kind of like horror cartoons for kids, you know?
Yep.
Anyway, Zim has one of the most horrific forms of time travel that I've ever seen. So I assume some of you have seen Looper, and you've seen when the guy's, you know, climbing over the fence and his finger disappears, and then other parts of him start disappearing. Okay, Zim essentially had an episode where that happens, except the memory change is almost instantaneous. Except you kind of remember that things were different. Like, wait a second, have I always had this scar? You know, there's no like lag or confusion. And they're like, oh yeah, since you were 3. It's like, oh, okay. Anyway, so I'm going to recap really quickly, essentially spoil it because it's crazy. So Zim, there's this one human kid, Dib, who can see through his disguise and is trying to like tell everybody that Zim is an alien. So Zim gets this giant robot and tries to send it through a time travel portal to assassinate Dib when he's little. Like, well, even littler. It doesn't go through. The portal like rejects it. And in frustration, Zim just like grabs this random rubber piggy toy, throws it through the portal. It goes through. And it ends up like replacing Dib's like tricycle as he's driving it, and he smashes face first into a tree. And he's like, oh, maybe I can still kill him. So he starts sending more rubber piggies back in time to like, oh, when Dib is 6 and when Dib is 9, and getting him into these horrible accidents. And in the present, you just see Dib getting more and more sickly, more scars. He's like skinnier, more teeth are missing. He has like these tubes and a life support thing like running out of his neck into his backpack. You just see him like gradually getting weaker and weaker, and he doesn't know why, but he's just traumatized and horrified by these images of piggies throughout his life. And eventually he catches on that Zim did it. And all he can do is like weakly pound on Zim's front door, like, I don't know how you did it, how you ruined my life. And Zim sends one final one through where a paramedic is trying to resuscitate Dib, like, come on, kid, if I lose another patient today, they'll wrap me up. And the defibrillators are replaced with rubber piggies. So the guy just ends up slamming poor Dib's chest with them. And then you see like the heart monitor and it flatlines. And it's like, well, I guess that's it. He successfully killed the guy. But then it starts going up again. It's like, what? Why is he still alive? And then you see he changed the past so much that Dim's scientist father essentially created a giant mecha suit so his son would never get hurt again. And he's like, he will have the strength of 10,000 little boys. I just love that phrasing. So now he's breaking into Zim's house. He's tearing everything apart. He gets this destroyed deep voice like, you will pay for ruining my childhood, Zim. He's going to kill him. So Zim, he gets into the bottom of his base. He's just desperately throwing everything he has through the portal, and all he does is make the mech suit even stronger. Like now it has missiles on its shoulders. Now it has an extra arm cannon. Now it has more armor plating, and it's just making it worse and worse. And he only has one left. And he realizes, oh, I need to send it back to myself, warning myself to never use the time machine. And he even writes a little note on it saying like, Zim, don't use the time machine, Zim. But just as he sends it through and the past goes back to normal, Dib is healthy again. He's not, whatever. Zim essentially gives himself brain damage because this time the piggy swapped places with his brain. Oops. So he only screwed himself in the end.
That's such a great bit.
It's like, did anyone ever think of the rational conclusion? The rational conclusion being that if I came on here and I said, I've discovered that my best friend, say it's you, Nick, my best friend is actually an alien. His autism is not a sign of autism or whatever it is. He's actually an alien and he can't cope with this reality or this Earth as it is. Do you know what you lot would say? You'd say, Cara, I know you're stressed, but really, Nick's just Nick. He's not an alien.
Yeah.
I really know that. I know that you're stressed and you're worried and that you really like him and he seems a bit paler, but really he's not an alien. So anything I could
They're
go,
not friends,
I could,
by the way.
I could, yeah. And you know what I mean. I'm not good at sort of, but if I but if I said that, you guys go, Cara, we know you're stressed. We know you're trying to write this book of yours, and we know you're trying to kind of collate all this research information about this Arthurian book you're doing. Maybe you should take a break. We don't mind if you miss a chat 1 month, but Nick is not an alien.
Oh, sure.
So that's the obvious reaction, isn't it?
Imagine if Dexter never killed anybody, if he was completely innocent, and it turns out Dokes was just harassing his autistic coworker this whole time for being creepy.
Yeah, but that's the point. I mean, it probably wouldn't act like that, but that's how you guys would react if I said something like that. You go, Cara.
That's why you relax the rules for the sake of the story. I mean, how many works of fiction? Well, it's just what it's like. It's like, I mean, there's I love farce, but even the best farce, like the most brilliantly constructed farce, operates because at the very beginning somebody did not ask a very obvious question.
Yes.
Like the misunderstandings that pile up in a farce can almost always be resolved if you just, but if this one character had acted the way any ordinary person would have acted in that situation and just sought some kind of clarification on this minor point, none of this would have happened. But that's part of the fun of it. It's like you just sort of see everything escalate. And you can think like, well, if he had just asked, hey, wait a minute, it sounded like you guys were having sex behind that closed door, but was it actually something more innocent that I misunderstood? Oh, yeah, we were just putting up a bookshelf. Like, oh, okay, never mind.
Although, that is a slightly weird thing to ask. Like, hey, those sounds I heard, is that, I would think twice before asking for someone that.
But in an episode of Three's Company, it's a completely normal thing to ask.
And yes.
My brain seems like highly attuned to create farces, but I realize that there are so many times where I just slightly mishear somebody and think that they say something else, but almost always it's like, you didn't just say, and then
so you do what Mr. Roper never actually does.
Until I hear the worst thing, and it's never what they say.
Yeah. Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick, go for it.
Good afternoon.
Hello, sir.
I wanted to know, Mr. Shives, did you notice anything the second time you saw Superman that you missed the first time you saw it last night?
Oh man, did
Because I
I?
know it goes by a pretty steady clip for like 2 hours before the credits run, so it's easy to miss something the first time.
I'll tell you something. It wasn't. I don't think it was the second time. There was something that got by me the first time, and then I made a mental note to try and look for it, and it got by me the second time too. But the third time, I caught it, and it was what Beck Bennett's character Steve Lombard is saying on the phone when the disaster is happening in the city, when like the big split is approaching the Daily Planet and they're all evacuating, and he's on the phone frantically talking to somebody, and I could hear that he says something that sounds like it's funny, and he's playing it like it's a funny moment, but I missed it the first two times, but the third time I locked in and I heard it, and he's talking to his, I guess, girlfriend on the phone, and he's asking her to put his cat on the phone, and then the person on the phone says, apparently, like, protests or says something that he doesn't want to hear, and his response to her is, yes, she will care, cats can understand the tone of your voice. and he's like frantic and like crying as he's saying, yes, she will care, cats can understand the tone of your voice, and he like stopped. So that was, it wasn't the second time, it was the third time, but I made sure to catch it that third time. There were probably other things too that I can't think of like right now, but that was the big one where I was like, that's what he was saying.
The mural in the Hall of Justice.
Oh, yes.
That it's like a zillion obscure ass DC Comics characters from like Justice Society era and back.
I actually didn't notice that at all until I saw people talking about it online. And then I saw it like, I may not have actually tried to look at it until I watched the movie at home, until I got it on digital. And then when they had that scene in the Justice, in the Hall of Justice, I like made sure to check it out.
Just the fact that
I didn't miss that at all. I missed that completely.
One subliminal thing that in the movie in Superman that I thought was amazing was in Lois Lane's apartment. Everywhere you look, every shot, there are books.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's books on the walls. There are books on the table. There are books on the shelves. She has books everywhere. I just thought that was so awesome.
Yeah.
Just the fact that there is.
Hang on, let Nick's been trying to say something. Let Nick say something.
Just the fact that there is a Hall of Justice. Like, this is like the big difference between Marvel and DC, and they made a comic addressing this once, where they kind of swap places in each other's universes. So the Marvel heroes see what DC is like, the DC heroes see what Marvel is like. Yeah. People in the Marvel comics are jerks. Holy crap! Like, Spider-Man will save him, and they'll curse him out and call the cops on him.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the Marvel heroes, they see a museum dedicated to the Flash. They see like statues and a Hall of Justice, and like, wait a second, people in this world actually like their superheroes. What? And Cap, this is a red flag for him, because it reminds him of, Nazi Germany. He's like, no. These heroes are definitely fascists who took over their world and are forcing everybody to worship.
Why do they have statues?
Meanwhile, the DC heroes, Superman and the rest, they see like the state of the Marvel universe. They see how mutants are treated. They see like how many close calls out. The world is always on the verge of being destroyed, and people are always suffering. And they're just like, these heroes suck. Like, they must be loose cannons. They're just not good at being heroes. So they end up being really judgmental of each other.
Your leader's face everywhere too.
Yeah, my husband was always more of a Marvel fan than DC, so we kind of clashed on that. But at least I can turn around and say, look, if so-and-so is in, at least I can say, so which hero is this? Is he Marvel or DC? And he'll usually say, oh no, that's the Marvel one. Oh, or I don't know about this one. Which case I say, okay, he's DC. I mean, when I've kind of brought up the women in refrigerators thing, he's looked at me blankly and gone, what? And I just looked at him, you're not a Green Lantern fan then? And he just kind of, no, that's DC.
It's just funny.
Carl Rayner, Alexandra DeWitt. Yeah, and I love how the author justified it by saying, I always planned for her to get murdered, so that's what I built up to. Oh, thanks. Thanks very much.
I planned it all along, so it's fine.
Yeah, I planned it all along. It's like that terrible one where oh God, is it the Flash's wife gets murdered by his ex-wife, and there are footprints on her brain, and you're thinking this is so. And then they don't punish her in the end; they just send her to an institution which probably won't cure her.
Identity crisis, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And I hated that so very much because it's so wrong on so many levels that you can't even begin to. I mean, it's one of the few comics I actually wanted to reach into the comic and actually shake the heroes and say, "Are you fucking nuts?" It's as bad as the one where they wipe Batman's brain because they want to.
Oh yeah, well that's Identity Crisis too, isn't it? Yeah.
Which actually caused the development of Brother Eye, I think, because once he regains his memory or once his mind heals, he thinks, I can't trust the Justice League anymore, so I'm going to start surveilling them.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of
I think I'll stick
no,
to
I'm just
my
gonna,
own DC
no,
fanfic.
Nick was trying to finish a point, so go ahead.
My favorite part of Identity Crisis, I've been trying to find the title for it. I knew like what story you would talk about. You just finally reminded me, so thank you for that. I love the part where like everybody's investigating, like all the superheroes are trying to figure out, you know, who did this murder. And I think the Atom, whoever can shrink himself down, he like walks through the carpet looking for clues. It's like a jungle to him. I love that creativity.
It's a great, I also wanted to mention before I go to Ken, who also has his hand up. Speaking of the Superman movie and the Hall of Justice, I love that for the exterior of the Hall of Justice, they use the actual building that was the inspiration for the Hall of Justice in the cartoon. There's a real building in, I think, Cincinnati. It's that is like that's just what it looks like. It's just a beautiful piece of architecture, and that's what they used as the reference to create the Hall of Justice in Super Friends. And now it comes full circle, and it is the exterior that they use to represent the Hall of Justice in the Superman movie. It's really cool. And I think they shot inside of it too, if I'm not mistaken. I think the interior there, when Lois is talking to the Justice Gang, I think they shot that at the same location. I may be wrong on that, but I know the exterior is, the actual place. Anyway, Ken, your hand's up.
Hi. Yeah, my name's Ken, and I am first time at the chat, and I'm
welcome.
Glad to be here. And one of the reasons I started following you, Steve, is because I love Star Trek, and I may be the only person here who's old enough to have watched Star Trek on NBC in the 1960s, because I'm 71 and been a fan ever since. And one of the things about Star Trek is that it is one of the things that inspired me to become a doctor. And I've been a pediatrician for 42 years. And wonderful. One of the things that I really wanted to, just again, because I've been around a long time, is just how the public's idea and the public's view of science, medicine, expertise has changed so drastically that, when I was growing up, if someone who had studied and worked very hard told you something, you may disagree with them, but you'd at least respect them. And this is just something that has changed. And, there was a discussion about RFK Jr. earlier. And I will tell you, as a pediatrician, it's just been a nightmare to see so much work I've been doing for decades, just people flushing it down the toilet. And I do have one theory about what doctors and scientists can do, because I teach at St. Louis University School of Medicine. I teach an elective course called Acting Like a Doctor, which is 6 seminars on how to use improvisational theater to be a more mindful, empathetic physician.
Oh, wow.
Because one thing that happens in Star Trek, which I think is valid, is that since they're all science people, they talk to each other like science people. So Spock can say this, Bones can say, no, you forgot about this, or you missed that, or you missed that, or you missed that, which is a no but response. But when you're working in a professional group, and it's an unemotional atmosphere and it's an intellectual atmosphere, you can do that. But I think what a lot of scientists and a lot of doctors don't appreciate is that when we're talking to civilians, it's always an emotional interaction. And there is this there's a study done way back, which actually has some validity, that says that in emotional interactions, like 55% of the communication is through body language, 38% is tone of voice, and only 7% is the actual words. And so one of the things I teach the students to do is, if someone says, I've heard vaccines cause autism, is not to say, no, That's not true. There are a lot of studies that show there's no relationship between vaccines and autism. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. And if you love your children, you would get them vaccinated.
Yeah.
Now, those are all valid statements, but if you say that to people, they pick up their kid and walk out of the office.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you say, you know, I've heard that too. That's really scary. I can see why you would be concerned about that. That shows me how much you love your kid. What else have you heard? And go from there. That's much more effective. But I guess I just wanted to, again, get people's feel on what we can do to people with other mindsets to make them, you know, just help them see that when people have done this level of studying and work and actual research, not just going to Google, but actual that actually is valid, and that actually needs to be seriously considered in your decision making.
Yeah.
I just see this.
Don't everybody talk at once. Let me say one thing first, and then you can say something else. I think, I mean, personally, I think it's going to take a long time to sort of re-educate the people that we have lost to what you're describing there, Ken, to get back to a place where people are comfortable trusting and accepting expertise. Like, one of the most damaging things that Trump and RFK Jr. and this whole, you know, MAGA Maha movement has done, and it predates it. I mean, this is just the most recent, you know, sort of evolution of it, but it goes back to, I mean, conspiracy theorists have had this kind of thinking for forever. The idea that, well, expertise doesn't really matter, or expertise can't really be trusted. You can, you know, I know as much as a doctor knows, or I know as much as a scientist knows, or whatever. That attitude, that conceit has been so validated by people like Trump and RFK Jr. and you know, all the rest, and these influencers that are sort of, you know, phony health influencers that tell you, like, you don't need to do what your doctor says, you can do X, Y, and Z and you'll be better off, you know. And it's going to be tough to sort of slide people back into the mindset of, you know, well, yes, you should want to be informed, you should advocate for yourself, like, you should ask questions, you should be skeptical, but you should also accept that unless you're a doctor too, your doctor knows more about this than you do, you know, like, that's just, and you know,
after I left nursing because of my disability, and by that, but I was still on crutches then, I got a job as a doctor's administrative assistant, and at the time I'd been diagnosed with a chronic condition, and my doctor was actually really upfront with me. He said, look, I know you can take these pills and within about 2 to 3 weeks you're going to start feeling better. Can I urge you not to stop taking the pills? And I looked at him blankly and he said, why would I stop taking the pills? This is a lifelong condition. I have to take the pills every day. He said, you would not believe how many people feel better after 3 weeks, stop taking the pills, and then 2 weeks later come back in and say, I don't feel very well. And I have to explain that they have to keep taking the pills.
Yeah.
But talking about vaccines, the one thing I used to say to parents, and it was such a huge thing that this Dr. Andrew, and I can't remember his surname, but my God, I could smack him, did.
Wakefield.
Andrew Weil.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was
Wakefield,
the vaccine guy was Wakefield, right? Yeah.
Wakefield, that's right. Wakefield.
Yeah.
Oh,
the damage he did was so
Well,
great.
he's a mathematician, right?
That they had the UK government had to print out a whole series of booklets, and they're this thick. They're this thick that explains his findings and articles in the Lancet that disproved it. And I had to sit with parents and do what you did and say, yeah, I appreciate that you feel like this, that some vaccines are damaging. We can give you some information on it. And I would say, well, I had all the vaccines and they say, but you're disabled. I say, yes, but that has nothing to do with my vaccines. That's to do with my motor ability, and that, you know, vaccines, if it was a vaccine thing, it would have shown up 2 to 3 weeks after I'd had the vaccine. This is nothing to do with them. And they'd go away and some would come back and say, okay, tell me more. So you'd go through all the literature and you're thinking all the time, there's this little voice, I don't know if you have it, Ken, this little voice going back in your head thinking, I know vaccines are fine. I know vaccines are fine. I know they're fine. How do I convince this parent that vaccines are perfectly fine and they don't need to go through all the hoops of having single vaccines? They don't need to go through all the hoops of proving it. I don't need to have shots to prove that vaccines are fine. What the hell do I have to do to make them protect their children?
Yeah.
I just gotta say, unfortunately, I consider it a character flaw just on a widespread human level that you would need to convince them with a personal anecdote by saying, well, here's how things are for me. I'm just so frustrated that people are far more easily convinced by, personal anecdotes than they are by data. Like, they should be compelled by the data. But all someone has to do is, well, I know this guy in his 70s and he's had COVID and he's just fine. So clearly it's not a big deal. And then that's all someone needs. And meanwhile, that old guy surely has nerve damage and vascular damage, and he's just not going to notice it for a few years until it's too late.
Yeah. Well, and in a lot of those cases, it's go ahead. Sorry.
Is the fact that our brains are wired to respond to narrative, which is why we're all here.
Which is unfortunate.
We love stories. And so actually, rather than giving people studies, what I will say is because I am old and I've been in practice for 42 years, I can say that since I have been in practice long enough that there's some diseases that have almost disappeared because vaccines have been introduced, in the last 20 years. So we don't see kids who get Haemophilus meningitis, which was something that would cause deafness and brain damage and death, and that has fallen off. And I have to tell residents about it as a historical thing because we don't see it anymore. And that's the kind of thing where I'm giving them data, but I'm giving it through my emotional reaction of I'm so happy not to see that. So if you can add an emotional component to it, I found that is one of the things that works. But again, that's a one-by-one thing. It's very labor intensive.
Yeah, it is. Nadia, go ahead.
Nadia, yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah. I realize I'm only kind of an acquaintance, but I guess you'll probably be glad to hear that I made it out. I'm in Berlin. So
nice.
Yeah, and of course, as you were mentioning earlier, good news about Germany is Musk's inauguration antics are illegal here, which is
that's
plus, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I guess I made it out safe. Probably glad to hear that.
I'm yes, very glad. Very glad. Very glad. And it's nice that there's still relatively safe places to go. Okay, Isaiah.
Did everyone get a look of Fang? Did everyone see Fang?
Yes, we did see the cat. Yes.
He didn't like being picked up, but he was going to be shown to you all whether he liked it or not.
Okay. Moving on. Isaiah, go for it.
Okay, so rapid fire. I'm gonna do this really quick.
Okay.
So to address the autism vaccine thing, I don't really care to inform people whether or not vaccines cause autism. I mean, this story has been debunked, through hell and back. So as an autistic person, it's not up to me to tell someone that vaccines don't cause autism when you could easily just do research and just say that we've had vaccines since the 50s, right? So why hasn't relatively speaking, but why hasn't there been this explosion of no, just do research.
Unfortunately, the arguments don't make themselves, and we do need to push people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to do it on their own.
But talking about the con, something
yes.
fun.
Yes.
Okay,
Tell us about your con experience.
Yes. So I also want to see if I can share my screen too.
Let me give you permission. I don't think you can yet. Let me turn that on.
All right. So
okay.
Do I have?
You should be able to now.
Okay. So let me find out where this stuff is, because I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to electronics.
We can talk to amongst ourselves until you find it as well too. But only a little bit. We're not going to go off on tangents on the topics like that because we're just like giving like a time for Isaiah to like get to.
Yeah, we're vamping.
You
Is
don't
what
want
happening.
me talking
We're vamping.
amongst myself. I dominate the conversation.
There. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to my thing.
There we go.
I'm gonna scroll down. Yeah, here's some models that I'm making.
Nice.
Here's my autism airline that I'm designing.
Nice.
Here's a book that I'm reading.
Oh, the Wrath of Khan novelization. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I went to Orlando, Star Trek Orlando. These are some of the people that I met. Right here. So, little con. That's me doing a Klingon.
I dig your Enterprise uniform. That's cool. That's cool.
Yes, the Enterprise uniform is great, honestly.
Yeah.
Here's this is a guy that actually has a working tricorder.
We're all jealous.
Yeah, that's like, I think he paid $700 for that. This is me at the Orlando Science Center and a lot of others. Oh, this is me at the Titanic Museum. But going back to the Star Trek part, yeah. So I got to meet Gates McFadden. Okay. So,
yes. Yeah, she's very cool.
God.
And I met Sirach Lofton, and I told him about the meaning of having a single father raising a black single father raising a black son in the early 90s on television, and how when you had Rodney, you had a lot of portrayals of negative portrayals of black men at that time. Rodney King, O.J. Simpson, Super Predators, things like that. And here's a show where a black father is in a command position raising his single son whose mom died in war.
Yeah.
She didn't die in a crack house. She didn't die doing something nefarious. She died in war. She was a civilian that died in war. That was a story we didn't get at that time because we were really proud of our military, after the Gulf War, after winning the Cold War, things like that. So the idea of civilians dying in war was something that happened in other countries, not in this country.
Yeah.
So I told him that, and he was really touched by it. And I think that's what this pose was.
Yeah, that's such a cool picture.
By the way, Isaiah, Matthew mentioned it. Your beard and goatee is coming in quite nicely. You have the Cisco look going for you. It's doing well.
Like season 3 Cisco when his hair was short and he was growing in the beard. Yeah.
Oh, and you have the uniform for Cisco as well too. Perfect.
What are the odds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really have that uniform. I have my cadet uniform, which you don't really see often.
Oh yeah, that is awesome.
You got to dress up in it, Isaiah, and show and actually come on the chat in full uniform, nicely trimmed beard, and just sit.
And then I went to the Titanic Museum.
Yes.
And
your full pose.
Okay.
Just for us.
Let him show us his blanket.
Yeah, I got a White Star Line kind of official thermal blanket here.
Cool.
So I got that, and I also picked up a Bajoran phaser from the con Playmates.
Oh, nice!
Oh man.
So, and one more thing I got. I don't think I have it with me. I picked up the so does anyone remember the Borg episode, Descent, and they had that electronic like eyepiece?
I think so, yeah.
I picked that up too.
Okay.
Nice. You got a Borg piece. Nice. Oh, they like the scanners from like Dragon Ball Z. Yes, it's over 9,000.
Oh yes.
Here's another. This is a movie with William Shatner where his senior moment with William Shatner.
Oh, I've heard of this. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I've seen it advertised. I've never watched it. Yeah.
And I also got a
Gene Smart.
Christina Chung. She's like a singer. She's like she's pretty sassy, dude. She's like one of my favorite Star Trek actresses ever.
She's great. She's great on the show.
Stuff into your car to get back.
I carry a duffel bag when I go to the con, especially if I come back with a haul. But like, luckily, I also travel with my friends and stuff like that, or just like go to the con in Seattle since it's just a bus ride.
Yeah.
I also picked up some trading cards.
Oh, nice! Star Trek trading cards.
So
I'm afraid I may actually have to get going now. I got a place to be. Sorry.
Oh, all right, buddy.
Later.
Okay. Nice seeing you.
Good to see you, Nick.
He always had his hand up for a while.
Yeah.
Apparently has to leave soon. Maybe can we?
Oh, yes.
Joe, quickly.
Hello. Yeah, like I said, I got to leave in like 2 or 3 minutes.
Go for
I
it.
wanted to. There was a thing somebody talked about. Reality not being like perspective, and people not believing in that. It's interesting. There was a game book from, I want to say, like 94, 95 that was legitimately how the guy had set up like a dead man switch that flooded the internet with videos and things about essentially all facts that are like 12 versions of how they all played out, and that's actually how society ends in the fiction of that game world. The Cyberpunk 2020 Aftershock, I believe, is the name of the book.
Okay.
Fun.
Well, anyway,
fun.
I'm gonna go.
All right, buddy.
Bye. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Julian, and like, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, sure, yeah. I had a thing on Ken's sort of question or point earlier about reestablishing some sense of respect for other people. I think even pre-Trump, I think this is very much a function of a kind of an internet ecology that, and I think maybe LLMs are kind of the kind of most distilled form of this, is creates a kind of incentive system that rewards and makes it very easy to create the illusion of knowledge in areas very complicated, and where at best, in the best case scenario, you get a YouTube, kind of level understanding of something that is, might be accurate but very shallow, and at worst is completely misleading, but leads people to believe, because so much information is accessible, good and bad, that they have a level of understanding, comparable with someone who's spent 4 or 8 years, in an academic setting studying something. Whereas kind of previously, when information, you could go and get a book from the library and read, and then maybe you would actually sort of understand something. But we've made it kind of easier and easier to create the illusion of understanding without the substance of it. And to use a situation where people imagine, my half hour on Google is as good as your, 8 years in medical school. Or undergrad plus medical school, and actually, I will disagree a little bit with Isaiah about doing your own research. Back in my Cato days, hold your booze, please. I did a with the title "Don't Do Your Own Research." That was saying, it essentially said, look, it is kind of a problem that people without real background training think they can spend an afternoon doing research and have an understanding that's comparable to someone who's sort of formally trained in a topic. And one of the examples I used in that podcast actually involved COVID. There was this sort of viral idea that had gone crazy about how, all these COVID tests, they've been fake all this time, because someone found a CDC circular that had been intended for clinicians and medical practitioners that said you should switch to this multiplex assay array test, because this test, unlike the previous ones, can differentiate COVID from flu. And so I did a little, I talked to some actual doctors about what that meant. And so what any medical professional would understand is, what they mean is, this is one test that can say, that will, can give you a positive result either for flu or for COVID. So it can say, so you can say, yes, you have flu, yes, you have a COVID with a single test. What people without training understood when they saw this going around was, the previous tests couldn't tell the difference. And so a lot of people were testing positive for COVID, and it was really just flu. And it was just a question, and it was, in some sense, a kind of understandable way to read those words if you don't have any background, but it was a result of people doing their own research, thinking they understood something that was written for an audience that had a certain training, and then spreading crazy misinformation, saying, "Oh, the COVID thing is fake, and these tests have been telling people they've got COVID when it's just the flu." So.
It's kind of like when like the NSASWs back in like 2016 or stuff like that were on and on about like rape culture and stuff. Like, listen, that is a academic word, it is an academic jargon. We say rape culture, so we don't have to explain the culture that like blah 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 as well too. And that goes on to it where it's like people who they are just a skeptic as well read these like academic studies and surveys and think they know better. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but
yeah,
there's always hang on, Kara. There's always going to be something appealing about a story that tells you that something complicated is actually very simple, you know, and that's what a lot of people fall prey to. Is like, oh, you've heard that it's actually really simple. You know, this really complex idea or this complex problem or whatever it is. Oh, no, you don't need to know all of that. It's actually really simple. Here's all you need to know. Here's all you need to do. Like that. And it's like the know-it-all uncle at Thanksgiving who has solved all of society's problems. Yeah. And he's like, well, if they would just do this, then that will take care of that. And it's that sort of romantic idea of if you can just figure out this one thing at the bottom of it, then you've solved the problem. And people just naturally sort of fall prey to that kind of thinking, and it just escapes them that there are a lot of things in life that are actually really complex, and we need people who understand them at that level of complexity, not just, you know, in principle or as abstract concepts. Like doctors need to know how, you know, medication actually works and actually functions in the body. Yeah, and they need, and it's a level of knowledge that, I mean, I as a layperson don't have, and somebody needs to have it. You know,
we're not about 5-6 years ago, and just after I did about 2.5 years of nursing, so I had some knowledge, and did another 18 months into both the mumps and the rubella vaccine, and I wrote an article about the fact that mumps was first offered to boys, because if boys get mumps, it can make them infertile. If girls get rubella, it can cause damage to the fetus. So mumps was offered first to boys when the vaccine became available, and the rubella vaccine was offered first to girls for the reasons I've explained. And oh boy, did the trolls come out. I wrote this article, I'd researched it, I cited, you know, internet references, I checked them to make sure, damn sure that they'd actually cited places like the Lancet and old research, and I got people saying I didn't know what I was talking about, that all vaccines should be available to all children, which they are now, but when they first came out they weren't. They were kind of specifically given to various groups of children for the reasons I explained. I mean, we think of vaccines, we think of the COVID vaccine coming out very, very quickly, which it did, because it's very similar to SARS, and people didn't have a lot to do, and there was a lot of money pumped in because it basically brought the world to a standstill. As Russell Howard said, you know, we had a lot of testing because we wanted to make, there were lots of people not doing anything, so they took people to hospitals. They wanted to make sure that limbs didn't fall off and you didn't have an allergic reaction, and 101 other things, and they had other models to work on. But when they found that it didn't do that, they could move on to other testing. The Salk vaccine, polio, took about 7 years from development to actually being finalized, and even that had problems in that the first bunch of kids they found, because they took the feces from the children that they gave the vaccine to, and said, oh well, we found the disease in feces, so we need to work out why it can't pass through the system, because now we've got problems. So even that had problems in its early days. We kind of forget that because it's all glossed over. But if you do any research into vaccine, I did 18 months, and 18 months was more than enough for a lifetime.
Yeah. Okay, well, the show's almost over, so I'm going to go to Barbara for the last contribution to the conversation, and then I swear to God I'm ending the show. So Barbara, go for it.
Maybe I should wait till next time.
No, go for it. No, go for it.
I noticed there was a veteran in the group, and I thought I can use any suggestions anyone can give me on where to find more information. I'm a community college math instructor who lives about 5 miles north of Mexico, and I work in a town that's also right by Mexico. The college has not mentioned, and I do not want to ask the college for their official opinion on what the hell do I do if ICE shows up. I go on to YouTube and I see all sorts of brave people doing brave things. What do you do? Where do you begin? How do you react?
I don't know, honestly.
That's a great question. I mean, yeah, I would imagine there are resources online. I know there are organizations that have put out sort of, guidelines of what you're supposed to do, but I mean, I'm not sure.
Like what search terms, like do you have any ideas that could get this ball rolling for me? Just so I can start getting information. Because again, the online is great because it has so much information, but it's sometimes hard when you don't know a subject already to parse out what that is.
Yeah.
Am I going to be in there shouting, where's your ID, where's your warrant? Or am I going to cower in the back of the room with my students?
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, it's not the best thing to bring up at the end of a chat.
Well, no, and I mean, I wish I had something I could just send you right to,
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone had any ideas, because the fact that the college hasn't even mentioned it tells me they do not want to have a position.
Oh, I'm sure they would rather just pretend it's not even happening,
Right.
Yeah.
And it might not. We are a very small college, but I imagine before anyone should start grabbing people, they should at least show an ID and warrant of some kind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you Google, if you look up stuff like, what are your rights if ICE shows up, maybe, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people have been kind of, sharing those facts around, like if ICE shows up at your door, here's what you are legally allowed to, deny them unless they have like an actual, judicial search warrant or something.
The Brennan Center would be pretty good on this stuff.
What was that, Julian?
The Brennan Center, I don't know about this specifically, but often is very good at kind of legal explainers of things that are related to public policy and in the news. BRENNAN. BRENNAN. Brennan, like Justice Brennan.
Oh, the Brennan Center for Justice, I think. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to figure out if these people force you, do you have the right to defend yourself? That's what I'm wondering.
In practice, no.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want them to just kill you.
No.
Like that's terrible to say, but I mean, practically speaking, even if you legally have a right, practically speaking, if a federal agent breaks down your door, and says, come with me, and you resist,
I mean,
go ahead.
My old friend Radley Balco, who was a journalist with the Post for a long time, and was with me with Reason for a while before that, has done just years of fantastic reporting on. He actually was really responsible for getting a guy off death row, and it was a guy where some informant had suggested that he was a drug dealer. It wasn't true, but they burst into his home at 2 a.m. with a no-knock warrant. Burst into his room armed, woke him up with his baby in the same room, and he sees a bunch of armed guys, waking him up, shoots, kills a guy who was the son of the, local sheriff or something, and goes to death row. And there were just tons of these cases where they're executing a no-knock warrant. It's completely reasonable that if you're awakened by armed men bursting into your house at 2 a.m, you might try to defend yourself like that, and just those people get the book thrown at them every time. In certain kind of circumstances where they have every reason to not think that they're shooting at police, and whereas the most understandable that they think.
I'm not looking to shoot at them. Words to say that my stuff.
Yeah, I would check out those.
I just wanted to know before something horrible happens. I don't want to shoot these people. I really don't, because I know the consequences. I'm just trying to say, if they're going to ship me to Uganda or someplace, I don't know if it's better to die here or to die in some foreign country. Like it's that no-win scenario that Kirk said to kind of throw here, but
that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
I'm not being shipped to Uganda. That's just so take my risks here. I know people and I know the system than to go to a country where I don't know anything.
And I just added like Caitlin Lee in the chat also mentioned the ACLU, so I brought up the ACLU like know your rights immigration rights guide as well too. Adding these links including the Brennan Center, and also I saw like stopice.net, and like you can check them out. I'm adding these links to charity links page conveniently. Let's like charity links page is also down in the descriptions below. So if you have extra money, please give it to like the friends in need and something like that. Like I guess I could go through like my plugs and stuff like that. Now, if you go to the Ask Away at the end of the show, so like when my question comes up, you will see Nasaneko, Linda Quinn, because like Nasaneko has not received her SSI for the 5th month in a row, so it's like Phoenix still is like always like needs money as well too, and like Joanna might be fine now if she receives her SSDI, but she will need like money later in the month as well too, as always as well too. But like also down in the descriptions below is like links to like Steve Shives Patreon, so if you came in on like one of these things, these seems like fun to you want to join in the next one, only like $1 or maybe $2 on Patreon, or only for 99 cents you can be a member of like Steve Shives channel. You can click the join button in order to be a member. The next
save a penny.
The next Patreon and member hangout will be 4 weeks from now on September 28th as well too, and like that's pretty much it. So like I'll let you close the show, Steve.
Well, thanks unofficial producer. I appreciate I appreciate you. I appreciate
it. It might be a case of I'm afraid it might be a case of rolling a dice this month when and ticking off, sort of putting a pen saying this is the list of names, these are the only people I can support, and you have no idea how guilty I feel about that.
Oh well, I mean,
don't feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty on my account. There's certainly if
I don't feel guilty on your account. I feel guilty on my account.
Well, okay, well then feel as guilty as you want. I don't care.
I'd like to be able to say, look, I can give £30, I don't know, $60 to all these people, and a list of about 20 people. Say, right, that's me done for the month. But I can't. I mean, I might.
I'm overcharging my credit card to do it.
What makes you think I don't?
You do what you can, and you do what you can, and if it's beyond your capabilities at that particular moment, I mean, it's I think you have to give yourself a little grace. You have to give yourself a little forgiveness and say it's out of my power. I'm doing what I can to help the people who I think I want to help, and it sort of is what it is. I want to mention before we go in our group chat, Ken mentioned that he saw Jaws in the theater. This is the 50th anniversary year, and yes, I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but
and it's been remastered, and you can even see it in IMAX and 3D.
If you can see it, if you do have a chance to go see it, I would highly recommend, because Jaws is one of the all-time great. It may be the best popcorn movie ever made.
And Apollo 13 is 30 this year. Apollo 13.
Boy, this is a big year for movie. A lot of great movies came out on the 5s, as it turns out. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. Everybody watching, thank you all so much for watching. Everybody who's here with me, thank you all so much for being a patron or a member. And as Geek said, we'll be back on September 28th for the next one of these. So that's it. Thanks everybody.
Steve.
See you next time.
See y'all.
Thanks.